This is a follow-up to the running head video that I just made. On this video, I'm going to show you how to make an APA title page format. This can be relatively simple, but it can also get a little more complicated. I'm going to first start by just going to a single page view, because what I want to do is turn on the navigation pane and then go here to the home and turn on the styles pane. When you open this, it might show up as just a floating menu, and if you drag this over, then it will dock like that. So now you can see the styles and you can see this navigation pane, and what this is going to show is essentially a table of contents once we start to build this. So we can make this fairly simple, or we can make it fairly complicated, and hopefully you'll see the reasoning behind some of the complicated things that I'm going to add to it. So for starters, we're just going to say, remember I made a short title up here, so here I'm going to say something like full APA title example, and then underneath it I could also say subtitle example, and then underneath that we've got the author name, and under that would be institution name. Again, I've obviously got this fairly zoomed out because I want to demonstrate the overall look of the page. Now, in theory, we can make it as simple as just centering all of that and then centering that on the page, and boom, there's our title page. But one of the things that I want to demonstrate is the use of styles and how you can use that to help to make a cohesive and consistent format throughout the document. And so I'm going to show you some of the modifications that you can do to styles, and then we'll carry that on with a different video. So I'm going to undo those last two things. So there's my alignment. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this first line I would like to make title. Now obviously, for those of you who don't know, APA should always be Times New Roman 12 point. Always the color would be black. This is clearly not APA. The second one we're going to say subtitle. Okay, clearly again not APA. And we'll just leave these as they are right now. You can see the style that they went in as how do I say it? Went in was normal. So we're going to come here and we're going to change that title and make it APA, but also make it the way we want it to. So you can see that the style is based on normal. That's going to come back and bite us here in a little bit, but let's just point that out for now. And the style for the following paragraph would be, when I hit return at the end of this, what's going to be the automatic next paragraph. Again, we'll leave that for now. So Times New Roman, we know that needs to be there. 12-point font, we know that needs to be there. Color, we're going to turn to automatic, which is going to be black in our case. Now we could do a couple little things here. We know we want it centered, and as far as the line spacing, APA format is always going to be double space. Now in this particular case, we know the top line of this is going to be the top line of the page, and we might want it to be spaced down by 12 lines or whatever. We don't have to modify that or automate that, but we can if we want to. For now, I'm just going to say double space because that's the normal procedure. I'm also going to open this up because paragraph is one of the key things that we're going to be playing with a lot with styles. Every style, we want to make sure that there's no space afterwards. Again, on the title, it's less critical than other pages, but in general, double space only between everything in APA. So this font is now centered. Now here's one of the key things. Remember this navigation pane over there? Outline level is what dictates whether it shows up in the navigation pane. So I'm going to say outline level 1. It's going to be a first level outline in that table of contents that's being built over here. So I say OK now. Say OK. Oh wait, one last thing. See that line? We don't want that line. So I'm going to go here, border, none. Okay, okay. So there is my title. We're gonna lower that on the page. Actually, while I'm here, let's go ahead and play with this. So we got a whole bunch of space that we would want to move that down. So I'm gonna go back into the title, modify, paragraph, and make it 120 points before. See what that looks like. That's about 12 lines, and say okay. So there might be the top. The reason you don't necessarily want to do this is because there's other information that you might end up putting on some title pages in some APAs. For example, a description of the author might appear at the bottom of this. So each one of your title pages, you might have to play around with the location of the top line. So that's why I prefer just to enter that, enter line, empty blank lines to lower the top line to where you want. There isn't real definitive definition in APA about how far down you go. I mean, is the top line 2 inches below the margin or 3 inches below the top of the page? It doesn't say anything like that. It says about halfway or about centered, I think is what it says. Okay, so subtitle, again, we'll modify it. And let's just make it easy on ourselves, and let's say that it's based on title. Now, any other settings that are in here override the style that it's based on. So we still have to change that. Still have to change that. It's centered. It's double spaced. We'll go to the paragraph, make sure everything's there is good. Okay, so the only thing that we want to change here is I don't want the subtitle to be a level 1. I want it to be a level 2. Okay, so there went the subtitle. Oops, and I left the italics on. Let's modify again. Turn off the bold and the italics. Should be just Times New Roman 12 point. Now these next two things, again, they're normal, but in the next video I'm going to show you how we're going to modify the normal font, or the normal style, excuse me, to be used for our APA paragraph style formats. So for right now, I think let's just create a new style that we'll call title centered, let's say. You can make it anything you want. Title centered. Style will be based on normal. That's perfectly fine, because what I'm going to do is modify the one key thing, which is the centering, but also I'm going to make sure that the format for the paragraph is none. Okay, so that should override. Let's see what happens if I say save at this point. Will it refresh that based on normal? So you can see right there it didn't change it to Times New Roman because the font is specifically set in there. So I'm going to change that to Times 12, centered, double spaced, no space after. There's no outline level. We don't want that to appear in the table of contents, so it's just centered body text. What am I missing on that? I think that's all we want to do. Oh, here next, the title centered is the next paragraph style after that. So in theory, if I hit enter again, see I'm at title centered. It did that to both of those. If I hit enter again, the next one is also title centered. So that would be the case as I enter, everything is going to be title centered. I'll have to change that manually when I want to change to a different format. So essentially we're done with the title page at this point. We've built our styles into Word, and I center that on the page. Now you see what happened over here with my table of contents. Every single one of these lines that I entered is of style title, which means they appear in this table of contents. So I'm just going to highlight those and change those back to normal. They go away. There's one more. Normal. They disappear off the table of contents. I've got it spaced. There is pretty much what an APA title page is going to look like.